Before we dive in, hit that like button and smash subscribe. It might just be a click for you, but for us, it really helps the channel. Thank you so much for being here and supporting us.
The movie unfolds around the Suzuki family, where the parents engage in frequent arguments, never finding harmony in their relationship. As evening falls, Mitsu, the mother, faces the daunting task of cutting a fish. However, her strong dislike for blood makes it difficult for her to successfully complete the task. Mitsu turns to her husband, Yoshiyuki, and her children, Kenji and Yui, for assistance. However, they all disregard her plea. Frustrated, Mitsu expresses her concerns to her husband, urging him to address the issue of the rising cell phone charges with their children. However, her opinion is ignored by her husband and the children. Yoshiyuki is engrossed in TV, Yui is glued to her phone, and Kenji is occupied with his laptop. They rely heavily on technology for entertainment and don't spend much time together, just like many other families. The following day, Yoshiyuki experiences a setback when his alarm malfunctions, causing him to oversleep and realize that he is running late for work. In a rush, he hurriedly takes a shower and gets dressed. As he emerges from his room, he asks his wife for the time, hoping he is not too late. Unfortunately, his wife informs him that the clock stopped working overnight due to a power outage that affected their home. Upon learning about the power outage, Yui immediately becomes worried about her phone, which she anticipated would have been charging throughout the night. Hastily, she makes her way to her room to retrieve her phone, only to discover that it had not been charging at all. Kenji, realizing the importance of a reliable light source during the power outage, searches diligently for a flashlight. After some time, he finds one, but to his disappointment, it hadn't been charged either. Despite his unsuccessful attempts to determine the time, Yoshiyuki decides to proceed to work. Kenji and Yui join him as they head towards the elevator. Upon reaching the elevator, they discover that the power outage has affected not only their apartment, but the entire building. As a result, they are left with no choice but to use the stairs. Unfortunately, their flat is located on the 10th floor. Well, at least their leg muscles will thank them for the extra burn. After reaching the ground floor, Yoshiyuki and his children part ways. But when he arrives at the subway, he realizes the train isn't running due to the power outage. Frustrated, Yoshiyuki walks to his office. Yoshiyuki reaches his office only to find a crowd at the entrance. With the electric door malfunctioning, the workers decide to break it. Inside, they discover that the computers are also down, forcing them to work manually. Following the series of unfortunate events, a day off is promptly declared, leading the workers make their way back home. In contrast, Mitsu takes the initiative to venture to the supermarket and procure necessary supplies for the family. That night, Mitsu notices the stars shining brighter than usual and calls her family to witness it. Surprisingly, Yoshiyuki tries to hold her hand while looking at the stars, but she moves it away, shocking both of them as they usually argue. As 3 days go by without any power supply, the Suzuki household begins to face the challenge of dwindling water supply. Due to the ongoing power outage, schools are suspended as teachers cannot make it to class. The water supply in the community is also diminishing. As a response to the situation, Yoshiyuki's office mandates a mandatory vacation for its employees. Consequently, people and families begin to depart from the town in search of better opportunities. Later, Yoshiyuki makes the decision to withdraw money from the bank. Upon arriving, he encounters a discouragingly long queue. However, undeterred, Yoshiyuki resolves to carry out his task and attempts to navigate his way through the crowd. Due to the community's difficulties, a meeting is held where the members contemplate their options. They ultimately decide that each individual must do whatever they can to survive, starting from the first day. Following the meeting, Yoshiyuki makes the decision to take his wife and children to Kagoshima, Mitsu's hometown. Although his children are hesitant to leave, Yoshiyuki convinces them by extinguishing any hope they may have of the electricity returning to their town. Gathering their belongings, the family prepares for their journey to Kagoshima. To afford their plane tickets, the couple combines their savings, hoping for a smooth transition to their new destination. The following morning, in the early hours, the family embarks on bicycles to reach the airport. Along the way, they come across exorbitantly priced bottles of water, with some being sold for 1,000 yen and others for 2,500 yen. Considering the steep prices, it is clear that the water is unaffordable for anyone. However, Mitsu takes matters into her own hands and manages to negotiate a lower price of 600 yen per bottle. Continuing their journey, the family eventually stops to refresh themselves. Suddenly, both Yui and Kenji feel the need to use the restroom. However, upon entering the toilet, they are met with a nauseating odor and quickly retreat. With no other options available, they are forced to relieve themselves in the bushes. Upon reaching the airport, the family is dismayed to discover that all the planes are fully occupied. The airport security informs the crowd outside that no one will be able to board any flights, and advises them to utilize their time with their families and focus on finding food instead. After hearing this, Yoshiyuki decides to take his family to a nearby hotel. Unfortunately, the hotel they check into lacks basic amenities. With limited options available, Yoshiyuki pays for a room and informs his family about the change of plans. He explains that they will need to continue their journey to Kagoshima by bicycle. His son interrupts him, pointing out that it would take them an entire month to reach Kagoshima by bicycle. The following day, while out for a walk, Mitsu and Yoshiyuki come across a rice shop. Coincidentally, the woman in the rice shop is bartering her rice for water and other food supplies. Spotting the opportunity, Mitsu and Yoshiyuki hastily enter the shop to negotiate a trade with her. In the end, Yoshiyuki ends up exchanging his bottles of wine for a bag of rice and a bicycle. Later that day, Yoshiyuki and his family begin their journey westward. They face some difficulties with the map, and eventually, Yoshiyuki gives up. However, Mitsu takes charge and leads the way towards their destination of Tamai. Upon reaching Tamai, they decide to spend the night there. Kenji spots a person attempting to steal water from his mother's bag. He gives chase but stops when he learns that the man was driven by desperation to support his family. Kenji decides not to pursue further and returns without retrieving the stolen water. Another day goes by, and Yoshiyuki and his family press on with their journey. They come across a tunnel where a group of elderly women kindly offer to assist them in crossing to the other side. However, Yoshiyuki declines their offer of help. Yoshiyuki initially believes that crossing the tunnel would be simple and straightforward. However, after a failed attempt, he realizes that he needs assistance. Thankfully, one of the elderly women kindly volunteers to guide them. With her help, they successfully make it to the other side of the tunnel. Mitsu offers the old woman some meat as a token of appreciation. After enduring 16 days without electricity, Yoshiyuki and his family make the decision to seek out a nearby stream. Having consumed all their food and water reserves, they are desperate for hydration. Yoshiyuki, driven by thirst and with no alternative options, drinks from the stream. They then continue their journey. As the evening progresses, rain starts to fall, prompting Yoshiyuki and his family to seek refuge. They park their bicycles and take shelter under a nearby bridge, leaving their belongings exposed to the rain. After taking shelter under the bridge, a violent wind topples their belongings and bicycles. When the rain stops, they venture out to save what they can. They realize that 2 bicycles are destroyed and their belongings are scattered. To get supplies, Kenji and Yui go to a nearby town while Mitsu and Yoshiyuki stay behind to watch their things. When they find a supermarket, they realize there is no food or water available. To avoid returning empty-handed, Kenji grabs bottles of battery water and a flare while Yui takes a can of cat food. Kenji improvises a solution to fix the bicycle tire by using the pouch from his phone. He cuts the pouch into pieces and, with the assistance of his phone, successfully repairs the bicycle tire. Yoshiyuki and his family continue their journey after fixing the bicycles. As time goes on and the electricity crisis continues, they get used to eating cat food for survival. While riding towards their destination later in the day, they come across a group of survivors. They pause and observe the survivors for a while, intrigued by the fact that they seem unaffected by the power outage and the scarcity of food and water. Kenji approaches the survivors and inquires about their secret. The survivors simply respond that it is all a matter of survival techniques. Kenji, Yui, and Mitsu express their lack of understanding. So the survivors further elaborate, sharing their knowledge of edible weeds that they have discovered during their journey. During the conversation, one of the survivors takes a picture of Yoshiyuki's family and requests their address, intending to send it to them once the crisis is gone. It turns out that the survivors and Yoshiyuki's family are heading in the same direction, but their paths will eventually diverge as they will have to go their separate ways at some point. Yoshiyuki's family and the survivors continue their journey together. They take a short break before resuming their path towards their destination. Along the way, they encounter military troops. One of the survivors tries to ask about the situation but doesn't receive a satisfactory answer. Yoshiyuki's family and the survivors continue their journey and finally reach Osaka after 43 days. Unfortunately, they find that Osaka is just like other towns, lacking electricity, food, and water. Yui becomes upset and directs her anger at her father. Kenji joins Yui in her anger, and soon thereafter, Mitsu also expresses her frustration. They are upset because their father didn't consider their suggestions. Yoshiyuki then asks his wife to guide them to her village, Kagoshima. However, just as they are about to leave, they come across a remarkable sight, a massive feast. The townspeople have broken into the aquarium and gathered all the fish, which have become the main source of the feast. The family quickly joins the food queue, hoping to get something to eat. Sadly, the food runs out before it reaches them. Out of desperation, Yoshiyuki falls to his knees and begs the person distributing the food for a small portion for his children, but he is refused. Overwhelmed with sadness, Yoshiyuki bows his head and tears well up in his eyes. Seeing their father in this heartbreaking state, Kenji and Yui offer him comfort and consolation. Continuing their journey towards Kagoshima, the family stumbles upon a farm on the 67th day. They spot a pig and decide to chase after it. With the use of a rope, Yoshiyuki manages to catch and strangle the pig. However, they face the dilemma of who will cut the pig into pieces. Fortunately, the farm owner, who happens to be the pig's owner, comes to their aid and helps them cut off the pig's head. Together, they carry the pig to the farmer's house. Upon reaching there, they finally get to quench their thirst with clean, refreshing water for the first time in a long while. The farmer offers them food to eat, and they are relieved to finally eat good food. As they eat, the farmer pleads with them to help him find the remaining pigs, further stating that they can stay for as long as they want if they can assist him in the farm. They stay with the man for a week before finally continuing their journey. However, the day before they leave, The farmer asks if it is possible for them to stay with him until the whole power outage issue ends, but Yoshiyuki rejects the offer, saying that they have to go their hometown in Kagoshima. The generous man provides the family with food supplies and meat to sustain them on their journey. A few days later, as Yoshiyuki and his family continue their journey, they come across a roadblock. To overcome this obstacle and cross the river, Yoshiyuki resourcefully builds a raft using available wood. After making the raft, he instructs his wife and daughter to board while he and his son work together to pilot it safely to the other side. After successfully crossing the river, the family realizes they still need to retrieve their belongings. They sail back on the raft, loading the bicycles and other belongings on board. However, halfway through the journey, the raft starts to fail and capsizes, causing Yoshiyuki to be submerged in the water. His body floats downstream, giving the appearance that he has drowned. Panic ensues among his family, while Kenji desperately chases after his father. Sadly, Kenji is unable to locate his father despite his efforts. Eventually, Mitsu and her children decide to accept the reality and proceed with their journey. While walking along the rail tracks, Yui kindly offers a piece of meat to a stray dog. However, this act attracts more stray dogs who begin to chase after them, as they can sense the food that Mitsu is carrying in a bag. Sensing this, the dogs take the meat from Mitsu, causing her to fall and hurt her leg. She can't walk without assistance. Luckily, a train arrives and gives Mitsu and her children a ride. In the meantime, Yoshiyuki manages to survive and finds refuge at a nearby farm to rest. When he hears the train approaching, Yoshiyuki lights up a flare as a signal. Mitsu, who spots the flare, quickly realizes it and urgently asks the person in charge to stop the train. Shortly after, Kenji and Yui rush outside to witness their father's miraculous survival. They help him board the train and are amazed to see their parents reconciled and getting along. The train continues on its journey until it finally reaches Kagoshima. They eventually meet Mitsu's father and start living with him. It has been 2 years and 126 days. The Suzuki family has been happily living in the charming village of Kagoshima. They have embraced a simple life, engaging in fishing and crafting their own clothing. One day, Yoshiyuki wakes up to the sound of his alarm clock and they steps outside to discover that all the lights in the village, and even throughout the entire country, have been restored. This marks the end of the electricity crisis, bringing relief to everyone and allowing them to return to their normal lives. According to the report, the 2.5-year power outage was attributed to a solar flare from the sun. Some speculate that it may have been the result of a terrorist group's actions, but this theory remains unverified. After a few weeks, the family goes back to their previous life in Tokyo. The movie concludes with the family receiving a photograph captured by a survivor during their journey. The power outage taught them to value the small things in life that they had previously overlooked. It makes me wonder, can you imagine yourself living without internet and electricity for such a long period? Can you survive without scrolling through our feeds, liking posts, and sharing funny memes? Let me know your thoughts, guys. Thank you for watching.
For more videos like this, please subscribe, turn on notifications and leave a comment or like. It really helps the channel. Thank you for watching.